RIP to a real one. I think I can say that with full earnestness. RIP to maybe the realest one we've ever seen. So, obviously, Bernie dropped out today. We're back where we started. Eternal recurrence is a real bitch. Fucking annoying, but Nietzsche nailed that so well. Asshole. Fucking syphilitic, misogynist weirdo, but he totally nailed it. There's no question that we live in an eternal recurrence. That is our fate. That is our doom. A lot of people are asking, where do we go from here? That is a answer. I do not know the question. Or that's a question I do not know the answer to. All I can say about that is that the one good thing for people, especially considering the real, stressful crisis moment we're in for everyone, is that now you don't have to worry. There's one less thing to worry about. You don't have to worry about the presidential election anymore. Like, you can tone it out. You don't have to pay attention. There's no requirement for you to care about any of this stuff now. And that, honestly, after, 4 years or so of, like investing yourself in this shit, isn't that kind of a treat? That in the midst of this shit, you can just sort of, read a book, chill out, try to pretend an expert on coronavirus or some shit, and you don't have to care about the presidency. You don't have to care about this election. It means nothing. It is the pay. You can be put finally and definitively on the pay no mind list. We don't have to pay it any mind, and that's really nice. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to what we're going to do on the show, now that we don't have to talk about this topic, which honestly, at this point, I'm getting pretty sick of. I mean, what else is to be said about the fucking, this mummy, this undead mummy murdering people, sacrificing, as a proof to their faith in the Democratic Party? I mean, what the hell else do you need to say about what's happening that is more damning than what they're actually doing? So, pay no mind. Beyond that, I don't know. People talk about general strikes. It's with who? What army? We don't have the people. The whole point of the Bernie campaign was to get some numbers. To get some numbers behind this whole thing. To get some support. Some critical mass. And now that's pretty much off the table. So now what to do next becomes a question. But, I think people who are all right, now we can do direct democracy, now we can do all this shit. It's we didn't have enough people before this. We don't have enough people now. So maybe we need to stop and think about that. I don't know the answers. What kills me and what makes me sad about this is that, for myself personally, the reason I thought it was worthwhile to invest fully in the Bernie campaign is because I recognize the chief problem of the left in this country was numbers, was people who were invested and willing to be activists in whatever way that meant, and to do the work, whatever that meant. Nobody knew because it had never been an issue. We never had it, we never had the numbers. I haven't had them for decades. Bernie was about getting the numbers and getting a movement. Almost fell off. That would have been an epic fail. It was to get people on board. And because there's going to be a crisis in capitalism, It's I didn't really know what Bernie was going to be able to accomplish as president. I honestly didn't think that much. I wasn't really that... he had a lot of levers he could press, but he wasn't going to he wasn't going to make revolution or anything like that. What he was going to do was... create a movement, get an army, get people ready to go. As capitalism came closer to crisis. What's killing me right now with this whole fucking coronavirus is just imagine if Bernie had been president right now while this shit was going on, as opposed to what's happening now, which is we're getting the 2008 bailout on steroids. We're getting another massive corporate handout. We're getting a situation where, when this ends, if we still have an intact government and institutions, then they're just going to be. We literally will have used the federal treasury to keep whole the people who will just buy out everything that everybody lost during the course of this thing. And that wouldn't, I mean, I don't know what Bernie presidency would have meant, but this happening under a Bernie president would not have meant that. I can say that for sure. And if it hadn't been a virus, if it had been one of the endogenous crises that are endemic to capitalism finally coming forward again, which was on the verge of happening. I mean, the fucking bond markets and shit were going wild even before coronavirus. And there, who knows if there might have been another thing. And there, you know, there would have been like a coherent response to this. There would have been a coherent notion of like a capitalist, of like an alternative to a capitalist restructuring that we're going to get instead. And that would have been true with a Bernie presidency or a post-Bernie moment when the crisis came. And now the crisis is here, and it's just too fucking early. It's just too fucking early. And that's too bad. So the task is still the same that it was before Bernie, but now without Bernie, the question becomes what replaces Bernie as the mechanism for recruitment and mobilization. And I don't know. It's way too early to say. We'll talk about it. People have ideas. Hey Zling, how you doing, pimp? I don't know. I mean, it's too early. I think anybody, love you, buddy. Anybody who's claiming to know is fucking selling something. But yeah, like one way or another, the fact is that we're not prepared for this moment. And Bernie represented the best chance to get prepared for a moment like this, and it didn't happen. Watch and participate in, but I don't know if they would have been any more effective because A, of the degree to which Democratic voters are committed to the Democratic Party, B, the degree to which non-voters are committed to not voting, and C, the degree to which Democratic Party voters are in the thrall of mainstream media and the party itself, which they are. So that means, like, people say Bernie should have been harder on Biden and should have gone harder on Biden. Well, yeah, but that also would have been treated like all of his mild attacks on Biden were, as him trying to undermine the Democrats on behalf of Trump. Because for Democratic voters, things are all zero-sum. Things either benefit Republicans or Democrats. And an attack on a Democrat is for Republicans. That's just the way they think. So there's no guarantee that would have worked. And especially when the media was willing to take to give everything the benefit of Joe Biden's spin on it as like the assumed thing to do, or as like the actual reality. Like they just were like, whatever the Biden campaign spin on this is the one that we're giving prima facie credence to. And Bernie has the benefit, has to do the he has to match some burden of proof to get his point of view across. I mean, that's a fundamental difference in the way that they were treated by the media that was going to make it impossible for him to get enough of the Democratic electorate who watch TV and believe that shit to follow along, unless they stayed separated, which they did until Obama made 2 phone calls and brought them all together, which isn't together. Unprecedented intervention in the process that was done on the specific purpose to defeat one candidate. And then you have what they did during this fucking primary, and these primaries that they from Iowa on, even before the coronavirus thing, they've been illegitimate. But the party still accepted them as legitimate. All of these, like 5 polling places in Milwaukee during a fucking pandemic, those delegates are going to get certified. What difference? I mean, there was no way they were going to let it happen. Period. End of sentence. So the task of the Bernie campaign, though, still has to be done, which is organizing people. The thing that's going to help that in this moment is that politics is about to stop being a spectator sport for the bourgeois and start be a thing that regular people have to contend with every day in their lives. If you didn't have enough people willing to just go and vote for Social Democrat Bernie Sanders in this country, you really think you have the numbers to fucking take up arms in a mass struggle, or like simultaneously take their labor out of the fucking like out of the economy? You really think that the numbers exist to make that happen? Come on, man. Come on, man. Come on. Come on. That's why the chief thing is the question, like Bernie losing or whatever, does not change the central challenge, which is getting people. Getting people on your side, and beyond that, getting people willing to act. That's it. That's it. That's the only thing. All other questions, strategies, tactics, they need to be subordinated to the question of that. What does that? What annoys me right now is I don't fucking know. I know there's a lot of people with theories. I have not been convinced by any of them. Doesn't mean any of them are wrong. Doesn't just means that I don't really feel confident. I just know that that's got to be the goal. And I definitely know that presidential politics at this point are not going to get it done. Without Bernie there, trying to get people to write in, get people to vote for Gloria Relieva or get the fucking Green Party to 3% or something, that is just a waste of time. Because you're not expanding anything there. You are pitching to the same gallery of disaffected cranks who always are looking for a third party to vote for, as opposed to the mass of people who don't vote. Only hope is there. The only hope is with the proles, as Winston Smith said. So all I can say is that right now I am a shruggy emoji guy on all questions of tactics, policy, what to do next. Not the least of all because we're in the middle of an unprecedented pandemic and economic collapse, two things that have never happened, and certainly never happened during an election year. I mean, this is, people say, well, you've been living in interesting times. My God, this 21st century has been absurd. And specifically, the last year, Jesus, like just Trump got in, it really has been someone put a cinder block on the fucking gas pedal. And now we're in totally uncharted territory. So that's another reason why I hesitate to say X, Y, or Z is the next path forward, because we don't even know what the state of play is going to be in, even 6 months from now. 6 months, 4 months, 2 months, who knows? Is there even going to be an election in 2020? That's a fucking open question to me that no one has really answered to my specifications. Honestly, the most realistic left formation to emerge, from the American context we have, like imagining the different types of revolutions we have, left-wing revolutions we could have in this country. Let's rank them by likelihood of actually happening. I would say least likely, the suck dem fantasy of electoral reform, because we know obviously before you get anywhere close to the real engine house of power, the state comes in, the apparatus, first and foremost the capitalist class. I mean, for the intelligence community, the mafia version that can break the rules, because even if you're winning within the rules, they can always decide that the rules don't exist with the help of institutions like the intelligence community. So that makes that very unlikely. It to just happen straight through. Honestly, maybe a little more likely, but still wildly unlikely, is the idea of any kind of Maoist peasant war or ML style Bolshevik coup. Just wildly improbable to me, given the conditions in this country. I mean, we might be neo-peasants, right? Like I've said, that the American lumpen person in this country is basically a medieval peasant in terms of their relationship to each other and media and things like that. Like they're not the industrial subjects that Marx imagined having a revolution. But they don't live like peasants. They don't live on the land. They live disconnected completely from the land. That's why I said instead of potatoes in a sack, they're Pringles in a tube. They've been processed. They've been chopped up. They've been fried. They've been put inside a carton. They're totally disconnected from their natural context, so therefore they can't fend for themselves. That makes them vulnerable. It makes them incapable of the type of action we were talking about that a peasant army could, like those landless Hakka tribesmen of southern China who made up the bulk of anti-imperial insurgencies all through China's history. We don't have those people. They don't know where are you going to go. You're going to go out. You're going to go camp out in the green belt behind your fucking subdivision. You know, you're going to do a defense in depth of the fucking of the House of Yes in Bushwick. So that's also unlikely. Honestly, still very unlikely, but more likely than either of those is some sort of middle-level free officer coup within the military, like Egypt had with Nasser, or like the Carnation Revolution in Portugal. That's more likely than any of them. Is those icky troops, like some mid-level radicalized officers, sort of like chopping off the head of the snake and instituting some sort of like barracks socialism. During a moment of deep crisis. Oh, it wouldn't be a soft coup. I think a soft coup would be like just the suspension of like the forms of democratic government, which they honestly might do to Trump. I'm not leaving that out. They might, like it's claimed that they might have already done to Bolsonaro. If they haven't done it to Trump yet, they might. And if they do, he would be really relieved, honestly. You don't think Trump would be relieved at this moment? You don't think he's terrified of being president right now? You don't think that he would love the chance to not have this responsibility? And have the military, his beautiful soldiers? My beautiful soldiers, look at them. Look at the handsome generals. They want to take over. They're saying they can take a nap. They're saying they can go to bed. Yes, Frederick Jameson has talked about how, like, the only model we have for any kind of social organism that, like, I talked about, institutes a notion of a social self instead of a radically individualized neoliberal self is the military. It's the only institution. Now, it adds to that, like, fascistic shit, and like a cult of violence and death of worship and imperialism and all that stuff, but it also has the idea of like an esprit de corps and like of a collective project, which we do not have, and which is one of the chief obstacles to trying to organize among people, because they don't think that way. I know I don't. I know I struggle to like build that notion in my head because it's just not something I'm built into. So yeah, man. The free officers. Are there free officers? Do we got any free officers in the house? Are there any free officers who might want to consider, like, doing, like, a Smedley Butler type deal? You know, not the business plot, but when he exposed the business plot. If he'd done, like, a counter business plot. Do I see a place for propaganda of the deed in a post-Bernie left? I'm not sure, officer. I'm not sure if I want to commit right now to endorsing criminal acts in a public space on a recording that literally NSA could be watching right now. What about sudden strikes seizing means? First of all, I love that as a tongue twister. Sudden strikes seizing means. But how does that not beg the question of where do you get the people to do the sudden strikes? Like, once again, people are talking about tactical questions, and you're all assuming a can opener. The can opener you're assuming is a organized critical mass of radicals who are going to all do the same thing at the same time. That is the can opener that all questions of tactics assume. And so I'm saying you can't assume the can opener, and you have to start asking that question. Before you ask any others, you ask, how do we get people? Anybody asking any other questions has skipped a step, and they're assuming a can opener. What about sudden strike seizing means? Sudden strike seizing means. Sudden strike seizing means. Sudden strike seizing means. The quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. The arsonist has oddly shaped feet. Happiness is right action. Happiness is knowing that you're on the path of the beam. That's it. Happiness is feeling a concord between your deeds and your spirit. Real politics is going to start. And that's the thing to be excited about. It's the thing to be scared of, too, because nobody knows what to do, and we aren't as far along, frankly, as I thought we needed to be. That's just a fact. I thought the whole point of the Bernie thing was to get us on track to be in the best possible position for the crisis. That was what I really thought. Being in the best, with the best hand, when the best organization, the best mobilization, the best control of institutions when the moment came. Now the moment is here too early. But I don't think it's necessarily fatally too early. It's just a simple fact that it's not as far along as I would have liked or thought necessary. That's it. But I don't know. I was just guessing. We're all just fucking guessing, man. None of us know. Nobody knows shit. Nobody knows shit. But no, my good news for the day is, guys, You don't have to worry about presidential politics anymore. That's my takeaway. If you got to have a takeaway today, feeling bad, feeling owned, I hate feeling, and honestly, more than anything, don't you feel owned? Don't you feel like all those globe emoji dipshits and fucking frauds and hacks and idiots and concern trolls? Don't you hate that they're fucking like gloating right now and that they're posting memes at you? They're posting the Ghana dancing funeral guy memes at you. They're doing it. You know they're doing it right now. We're all taking a break from having the goddamn Ghana meme guy given to us by fucking globe emojis and never Bernie housewives. It's happening, and that sucks. But at least you don't have to care from now on. And you can watch the amazing, transcendently great. I really hope we get them. The main reason I want there to be an election in November is because I want there to be debates. I need debates, and I want a bunch of debates. And I don't just want 3 debates. And I want them all to be different. I want like 5 or 6 debates, and they all have to have different like obstacles, like in the 5 obstructions. Like there'd be a debate where they get all their medication taken from them, and they can't take their medication for the 24 hours before. Then they do one where they get double their regular medication. They do one. They do one like standing in a pool of water. And of course, we would need a Sons debate instead of the VP debate, obviously. And that would be so much fun. And you know what? I watched those debates with Bernie with my heart in my chest, screaming, thundering. I'm going to take Chinese research chemicals and I'm going to take acid and fucking MDMA and I'm going to invent a new way to get high off of fucking air conditioning, Freon. And I'm going to watch those debates and just make my brain peel it like a potato and just let the raw fucking nerves just allow Biden versus Trump to overlay onto my sizzling fucking cortex. Oh, one where they swap medications. That's great. See, you guys are coming up with great ideas too. I hope if you listen to this, you feel a little better about a bad day and ready to do whatever needs to be done as the conditions change and as we realize what's happening around us and resolve to do what's necessary to liberate the human race from its shackles of oppression. Let's do it. Let's get that bread, guys. Let's get that bread. Bye-bye.